So I recently attended the Nordic Game Jam in Copenhagen, Denmark. Game Jam is a collection of various nerds of different types, artists, programmers, so on and so forth, who get together and in 48 hours, in teams, they design and build a video game from scratch. And it's a way to get together and meet new people. And it's a lot of fun. So I was attending the Nordic Game Jam. It was my second Game Jam. And along with me came Sahlia for her first Game Jam, and my husband Chris, also his first Game Jam. And together we had the starts of a team. Walking around meeting a lot of people, Sahlia and I met Tom, an AR designer, and Anton, another programmer, who were both from Belgium. And they joined our team. And it was a lot of fun because, we'd never met these people before. These types of events generally have a theme, and this year's theme that was announced was that again, that again, that again. So there was a repetition theme. So Tom had this original idea before the event started and before we got the theme that he wanted to do a asymmetrical VR game, virtual reality game, where you had one person on a PC playing with or against another person who was playing in VR. He had this idea where the person in VR would be masquerading as a robot, copying dance moves, and then the person on the PC would try to guess who was the human among the robots. So we started with this basic idea, and we're getting together and starting to talk about a name. And I'm going to let my husband take over a little bit because the name was his brainchild specifically. Here he is.
Hey there, this is Chris. We were creating the video, and the idea had been the dance robot game and the mimicking the dance robot game. And that was pretty cool. But I was thinking, they were talking about what kind of name we could have for the dance robot game, and I was like, wait a minute, what if it's, instead of a dance robot game, if you're trying to pretend to be human, because that's the part that I had heard, but instead of being a dance robot, you were working in a factory. And I said, we could call it Kilroy. And everybody turned and looked at me like, oh, that's an interesting name, but why? There was this band called Styx that had a lot of really interesting songs way back in the day. I'm kind of old. And one of their most famous songs was called Domo Arigato, Mr. Roboto. And it's the story of this guy who is hiding his brain in a robot in a factory in a post-apocalyptic kind of dystopian world. So he's pretending to be a robot, and he's trying not to get caught so that he can help people. Well, that immediately made me think of our game. So I was like, well, we could just call our game Kilroy. But the Kilroy story goes back further than that, because where the album that this was, the Styx album, was called Kilroy Was Here, which is based on kind of a meme, I guess it was a meme, from World War II, where they would draw this guy, who I think my wife's going to put a picture up of this, and this guy would be representing the Americans who were the forward officers, would show up, and to show that they had been there, they would leave a note saying Kilroy was here. It goes back a little further than that to the Australians in World War I, which was the Foo. But it's basically the same story as if you had Kilroy from Kilroy Was Here. So that's where I got the idea for the name. And I made the suggestion to others, and they thought it was kind of cool.
Thank you to my lovely husband for that. He's so smart. So once we had a game idea, I sat down to do the art. Sahlia sat down to the music. Tom was our VR guy, and Anton was going to handle the PC part of the game. And my husband was going to use his management skills to make sure we all stayed on track. going specifically to my side, I was able to, now that we had a theme and an idea, sit down and start sketching out kind of ideas of what characters are going to look like and what the setting's going to look like. Here are some of my sketches. After that, I wanted to sit down and think specifically about a color scheme. Here's a color wheel. And I wanted to do very specifically a cross-complementary color scheme. That's where you get the complement of a color, but instead of directly the complement, you take the two colors on either side of it, kind of like a Y shape. I was familiar already with this website called Paletton.com, and it's really useful for finding color palettes, and it already had a setting for cross-complementary. And you can go in and you can edit hue and chroma and value and all these other things. So I found one that I liked that kind of was reminiscent of tin robot toys. And I kind of shifted and moved things around until I was able to get some gray tones and silvers. Here is the color scheme I wound up with. And then I did some color mock-ups to kind of figure out where the colors would go. I did one for kind of the background setting and one for possible character combinations. And then I got on our Discord server and created a bit of a mood board, putting together different design aspects for characters and setting and various things so that way we could all be on a similar design idea when working with our characters and so on. I did some digital sketches after my initial sketches of the various characters. So starting, we have the toy bots, which are robots that the main character and the background robots are going to be building on the assembly line. And then we have the drone bots themselves. So I wanted their designs to be a little more movable, to give us some options in how they could move. The original idea was to give them noodly arms, which didn't make it into the final cut of the game, and then kind of easily animatable grippy hands. And then finally we have Ivan, who is our supervisor bot. I took some inspiration from like Wheatley and some other type bots, but I wanted to give him some stupid looking propellers. And his little clipboard, which I thought was amusing in a digital world. He'd have a pen and paper clipboard. After the initial design concepts, and I set them all up, Tom approached me and was like, "Hey Sam, I'm doing a lot of programming. I don't have as much time as I thought I was going to have. Is there any chance you know how to use Blender?" And I said no. And he said, "Do you think you could learn?" And I was like, "Okay." So I sat down with some YouTube videos and spent a lot of time doing research and learning various hotkeys, and I managed to make some models. It was a very exciting, nervous-making experience, but I think I did a decent job for our three main robot characters, with the drone bots, and Ivan specifically I was very fond of. Because he's just got a very toy-like, adorable look to him. I also did a couple little extra things for the background, some shelves with various boxes and stuff, just to fill in the scenes. After that, Tom was like, "Hey Sam, do you think you could add color to your 3D models?" And I was like, okay. And I couldn't figure it out. So I mocked up some color schemes using my color palette of various options for our robots and characters, and left it to Tom and Anton to color them. And then Tom approached me again and was like, "Hey Sam, we're running out of time. Do you think you could learn how to use Unity and add things to the backgrounds?" And I was like, okay. So again, I sat down with YouTube videos and all of that, and I was able to fill in the setting with the shelving units The hangar, the building itself, we bought, but the shelvings and everything I took from what I had already done, and I was able to set them in the setting. After that, I approached Tom and was like, "Hey, Tom, is there anything else I can do?" And he was like, "Nope." So I spent the rest of the time coming up with cute little designs and things that the original idea was to have them hanging up as posters in the background, but we never got that far. So they just kind of became advertising things, and eventually I sat down and I did the logo. So after all of this great big adventure, without further ado, here is some clips of my game, our game that we worked on together, Kilroy. I hope you enjoy. Special thanks to my husband for participating in my video today. And of course, a very special thank you to Tom, Anton, and Sahlia for an amazing weekend creating a game. Without them, it would literally not have existed. It would have been scribbles on a page. So thank you guys. I'm going to put some of their social media in the description, so feel free to check them out. And just for the heckin' fun of it, I posted some of the Kilroy art on my Redbubble account. So honestly, I could buy some stickers myself, but they're there if anyone's interested in it. The link will be in the description as well. Thank you so much for watching my video today, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!